Hear me out one final time. I know everyone thinks they understand the stakes, but they really don't. This isn't just about rockets or electric cars or even colonizing Mars. It's about survival, about the trajectory of humanity, and I need you to understand, not superficially, but at the core, the implications of what we're doing right now. When I say hear me out, I mean strip away everything you've been conditioned to accept as normal, discard your comfort zones, and think like a species that has just realized it is running out of time. Because that is exactly where we are. Not figuratively, literally. Time is not a luxury. We have decades, maybe a century, if we act intelligently. And I'm not talking in vague aspirational terms, I'm talking physics, biology, energy constraints, and the underlying mathematics of civilization collapse if we fail to address what is coming. SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, even Boring Company, they are all pieces of a much larger puzzle. Each project seems independent, but they're interconnected. Electric vehicles aren't just vehicles, they're a step toward sustainable energy infrastructure. Rockets aren't just rockets, they're a lifeline, an insurance policy against planetary extinction. Neural interfaces aren't just sci-fi toys. They're the foundation of a cognitive symbiosis that might be required if artificial intelligence outpaces our biological brains. It sounds like a jumble of tech startups, but it's a strategy, a multi-layered hedge against the known and unknown risks we're barreling toward at exponential speed. And most people aren't even thinking about this. They're waiting for the next gadget or IPO announcement. I need you to think bigger. Hear me out on Mars. I keep mentioning Mars because it's not a pipe dream, it's not science fiction. The physics don't care if you believe it or not. Mars exists. Its orbital mechanics, its gravity well, the delta-V budget required to get there, all calculable, all achievable if you're willing to dedicate the resources and intellect necessary. But colonizing Mars isn't just about building rockets. It's about building self-sustaining life systems, about understanding closed-loop ecology, about designing habitats where humans can live, reproduce, and thrive without Earth support. And while I have engineers working on this, I also need the broader public to comprehend that the first person who steps on Mars might define the next chapter of human civilization, or its final footnote if we fail. I also want you to hear me on AI, because here's where things get tricky. People either panic or dismiss it. Neither is useful. AI is a tool, but it's a tool that can surpass the humans who wield it if we're not careful. Neuralink is part of the equation, yes, but so is regulation, so is foresight. So is the kind of global collaboration that rarely happens in politics. We have to integrate AI into society intelligently, not reactively. And we have to do it fast, because the pace of innovation doesn't slow down for deliberation. Hear me out one final time, because the decisions we make in the next few decades are going to echo for millennia. People talk about innovation like it's a buzzword, like launching a new app or adding another feature to a phone is progress. That is not progress. Progress is survival, it's extending the range of human experience, it's ensuring that our species isn't just a brief spark in the cosmic night. And yet, so many are complacent. Complacency is the greatest risk. Look at our energy systems, they're fragile, outdated, inefficient. Fossil fuels are a ticking clock. Renewable energy isn't optional, it's existential. Solar, batteries, smart grids, these aren't luxuries, they're survival tools. And yet the world debates them as if they're political talking points rather than literal lifeboats for civilization. Tesla is one part of this, yes, but the underlying message is bigger. Humanity has to think in systems, in feedback loops, in resilience, not just in quarterly earnings reports or shareholder satisfaction. Hear me out on the rockets again, because this is where people start to lose me. Space isn't a playground, it's insurance. The only way to guarantee long-term survival of intelligent life is to become multiplanetary. Mars is just the first step. The Moon is a training ground, yes, but Mars is a challenge that forces us to innovate in ways Earth doesn't. Life support systems. Radiation shielding, autonomous construction, closed-loop ecosystems, these aren't optional experiments, they're mandatory survival protocols. And if you think we have centuries to figure this out, you're wrong. SpaceX isn't building rockets to impress people or to get media coverage, we're building them because there is no plan B if we wait too long. And I need to be clear about AI, because this is where it gets uncomfortable. Artificial intelligence is already outpacing human intuition in many domains, and if we treat it like a toy, we'll be blindsided. Neuralink isn't science fiction, it's a hedge. It's a way to augment human cognition, to maintain relevance in a world where intelligent systems could otherwise outthink us. Some people say, oh, AI will never be that smart, but the laws of computation aren't negotiable. Exponential growth is real. The question isn't if AI surpasses us, it's when. And if we're not prepared, if we don't integrate ourselves into this trajectory intelligently, we risk becoming spectators to our own obsolescence. Hear me out on sustainability again, because it ties into everything. Transportation, energy, production, agriculture, they're all interconnected. If one fails, the others are stressed. And stress cascades. Climate isn't a distant threat, it's a real-time feedback system. Sea levels, extreme weather, soil depletion, biodiversity loss, these are indicators, warnings. The planet's data streams telling us we're out of balance. And solutions exist. They require commitment, innovation, and yes, disruption. But disruption is not a negative word when the alternative is collapse. Every person, every company, Every government that ignores this equation is complicit in delaying action, and delaying action has consequences. Hear me out on the human factor, because this is crucial. Technology is useless without people capable of understanding and applying it. Education has to evolve. Critical thinking, systems thinking, the ability to navigate complexity, these aren't optional skills. If humans don't adapt mentally and culturally, even the most advanced technology can fail us. Space colonization, AI integration, sustainable energy, all require a species capable of seeing beyond short-term gratification. Hear me out one final time, because the next point is about time, and we are running out of it faster than most people realize. I mean literal time, not metaphorical. Civilization doesn't wait. The clock ticks according to physics, not politics. And yet so much of human effort is spent debating trivialities while the really hard problems, the ones that will determine whether our species thrives or collapses, are left untouched. Space exploration, sustainable energy, AI integration, climate adaptation, these aren't hobbies. They are survival imperatives. And the irony is that solutions are within our grasp. We have the technology, we have the knowledge, we have the talent, but what we lack is focus, alignment, and the willingness to take risks that actually matter. Most people want to innovate within a comfort zone, but comfort zones are the enemy of survival. Hear me out about Mars again, because I keep circling back to it, and it's not for dramatic effect. It's because Mars is the ultimate forcing function. When you try to colonize Mars, you can't cut corners. You can't cheat physics. You can't rely on luck. Every system has to be resilient, autonomous, self-sufficient, and fail-safe. That's why rockets are reusable, why life support systems are being tested rigorously, why simulations are pushed to the limits. This is not about getting media coverage or space bragging rights. This is about proving that human civilization can extend beyond one fragile rock. It's about giving humanity options. And if we fail to do this, we are leaving the future entirely at the mercy of earthbound disasters, asteroids, pandemics, climate tipping points, nuclear risks, societal collapse. Take your pick. There is no guarantee. None. Hear me out on energy, because this ties into survival just as tightly. You cannot have a sustainable civilization without sustainable energy. Fossil fuels are finite, destructive, and increasingly unstable as a foundation for global society. Solar, batteries, wind, grid optimization, these are not trendy technologies. They are the backbone of any civilization that wants to last more than a century. And Tesla is just a piece of this puzzle. The bigger picture is a transition in thinking. Humans must operate within planetary limits, design systems that are regenerative, and adopt a mindset of abundance through efficiency, not exploitation. Efficiency is not just economic, it is existential. Every watt wasted, every inefficiency allowed, compounds the risk of systemic failure. Hear me out on AI, again, because this is where things get existential in a different way. AI is not just a tool. It is a potential partner, but it is also a mirror. It amplifies intelligence, but it can also amplify mistakes. If humanity does not evolve intellectually, if we do not learn to integrate our thinking with machine thinking, we will be left behind. Neuralink is a step toward bridging that gap, toward creating a symbiosis rather than a hierarchy where humans are subordinate. But this requires foresight, discipline, and coordination, qualities that society often struggles with. And yet, the alternative is stark. Ignore the risks, ignore the opportunity, and the consequences could be irreversible. Hear me out on culture, because without cultural adaptation, even the best technology fails. Humans are wired for short-term thinking, for immediate gratification, for tribal allegiances. But the problems we face, space, climate, demand long-term perspective, cross-cultural cooperation, and systemic thinking. Education, storytelling, leadership, incentives, all of these must align with reality, not illusions. And this is harder than launching a rocket. Much harder. Hear me out one final time, because we haven't even touched on the logistics, and this is where most people start to tune out. Logistics isn't glamorous, it's grinding, relentless, unforgiving. But without it, visions stay dreams, and dreams are worthless if they don't survive reality. Mars colonization, for instance, isn't about a single rocket flight. It's about supply chains spanning tens of millions of kilometers, autonomous manufacturing, sustainable food systems, and energy generation in an environment where every mistake can be fatal. It's about designing redundancy into every system, because failure is not an option when lives depend on it. And yet, the people who focus on immediate profit or convenience often dismiss these complexities. They underestimate them, and that underestimation is lethal. Hear me out on autonomy, because the future is not just about humans doing everything themselves. Autonomous systems, robots, drones, AI, are necessary for survival in extreme environments. Think about Mars. Humans cannot perform every task manually. We need machines that can replicate, repair, and optimize themselves. We need AI that can adapt in real time to unexpected challenges, that can coordinate complex networks of infrastructure without constant human supervision. This is not optional research, it's a requirement for survival. And I say this not hypothetically, but from a place of observation. The technology exists. The challenge is implementation, integration, and commitment. Hear me out on economics, because we also fool ourselves there. People think capitalism or markets are sufficient for long-term survival. They are not. Markets are short-term by nature, reactive to incentives, blind to existential risks. Civilization cannot depend solely on markets to safeguard its future. There needs to be vision, there needs to be foresight, there needs to be investment in things that do not pay off immediately but are critical for the long arc. SpaceX exists not because it is immediately profitable, but because a multiplanetary future has value beyond quarterly reports. Tesla exists not because electric cars maximize margins, but because sustainable energy systems are a prerequisite for the survival of civilization. Profit is a metric, not a goal, and if you mistake the two, you risk annihilation. Hear me out on the human mind, because even the most advanced technology is useless without adaptation. Cognitive evolution is as important as physical exploration. Education, mental flexibility, the ability to manage complexity, the ability to anticipate consequences, these are not optional. They are the scaffolding that allows societies to implement advanced technology effectively. If humans cannot evolve mentally and culturally, even a colony on Mars will fail. Civilization is not just hardware, it is software. And our software must upgrade continuously. Hear me out on failure, because the world glorifies failure superficially, but failure in survival contexts is final. Rocket failures are instructive because they are contained, calculated, and correctable. Civilization-level failures are not. Climate collapse, unregulated AI, nuclear escalation, these are systemic failures that cannot be patched with iterative improvements. That is why I keep emphasizing redundancy, sustainability, foresight, and planning. We are playing a high-stakes game with no reset button. And yet, there is reason for hope, because humans are capable of extraordinary ingenuity, adaptability, and collaboration when properly motivated. Hear me out on urgency, because this is not theoretical. Every year we delay meaningful action increases the probability of irreversible damage. Space, energy, climate, every domain is accelerating. The longer we wait, the narrower the margin for error becomes. And history is unforgiving. The species that hesitates too long is replaced. The species that acts intelligently survives. It's as simple as that.